Hello everyone, my name is Hubert and welcome to Teach Me channel. Today we will talk about GCSE maths functions. I will teach you all about functions from the basics to some more complex stuff like inverse functions and combining different functions. So, without further ado, let's get started. Now, what are functions? Functions, we can think of functions like a machine. So we can think of functions like this. We have a number here, which is x, and that goes into a machine, like this, and then that number comes out on the other end as a new number. However, something has happened to it in the machine. Some specific change has happened. So, for example, let's take a function like this. I will show you exactly what I mean here. So, for example, we have function like this. Functions are written in such a form. F with an x in a bracket. We have a function like this. Fx equals 3x minus 5. So what happens here? Well, we have x going in, x is going into a machine, and inside that machine we have it undergoes something like this, 3x minus 5. So that x gets multiplied by 3, and then 5 is taken away from it. And then we get a new number. So if say we do x equals 3, so if we put number 3 there, what happens if we put number 3? So if we write it like this, f with a 3 in a bracket, that means that this x is number 3. So that means we're doing everything here happens to a number 3. So let me just copy that down here as before. So what happens here? We have number 3 going into a machine with 3x minus 5. And then what do we get? So 3 times 3 is 9, and then we take away 5, so we get number 4 at the other end of a machine. Or we could write it down like this. So f with a 3 in bracket equals 3 times 3, because whatever is here, we replace x with the number in the bracket here. So 3 times 3 minus 5, which equals 4. So that's the basics. That's what functions are. And yeah, so important thing is to know that whatever is in that bracket replaces the x in this equation. And that's a very good way of thinking about this. As though we get a number going in, and then inside the machine that number gets changed in a specific way, and then it comes out of the other end as a new number. So that's the function basics. Now, what is inverse function and how do we find it? I'm gonna write it down here. Inverse function. I'm gonna underline it. So, what are inverse functions? Well, inverse functions are basically the opposite of a function. What do I mean by this? So, think about this again. So, we have number 3 here. We have a machine, 3x minus 5. And we have a number here. So function went this way. So function converted from 3 to 4. However, inverse function goes back from the new number to the original number. So inverse function is a function in the machine that will do this for us. So let me copy it down. So we need to find inverse function is a function here that will, when we put 4 in, it will do something to give us a 3 in the end. It just goes the opposite way. So we need to find what that function is. And how do we do that? Well, how do we do that? First of all, we write down the original function, which is the same, fx equals 3x minus 5. And now we apply a little trick here. So what do? Is we keep it here x. So we take out the f sign. So we do x equals, and here we exchange that x into a y. So like this. So we went from fx equals 3x minus 5 to x equals 3y minus 5. That's a trick because essentially what we're doing here is we are naming an old number x and we are naming a new number y. So that's why we do this, and that's how we take out the function sign. Now what we need to do is, now the trick here is to make y the subject of formula. So we need to make it so y equals whatever. So let's do that. First of all, let's get rid of that 5 and let's put it on that side. So we add 5 on both sides. So now we have x plus 5 equals 3y. And now we need to put that y alone. We need to get rid of that 3, so we divide each side by 3. Like so. So now we have x plus 5 divided by 3. And that is equal to y. And this is what we want. This is what we want. So now inverse function, so we write this like so. So inverse function is written like this. F minus 1 to the power minus 1 with an x in a bracket still. And so our inverse function to that function is x plus 5 divided by 3. So this is what happens in this machine. In this machine, now we know in this machine we do x plus 5 divided by 3. And we can check it. 4 plus 5 is equal to 9. And then divided by 3 is equal to 3. So this makes sense. Okay, so that's how you do inverse function. Now, the final thing we need to cover today is how to combine functions. What do I mean by this? So, okay, so let's consider this. So we have two functions. We have fx, which is equal to x squared. So, for example, if we put 3 in here, so 3 squared is 9, and so on. And we have another function which is called g, x in a bracket, and that is equal to x plus 3. Two quite simple functions on their own, but we want to combine them. And to give two possible ways in which we can combine them. And how do we do that? We can combine them in two ways. Now, if we go back to the whole machine thinking, we can combine them in two specific ways. So we can have x here going into a machine, going into first machine, and that machine does x squared. It does this function. So the number goes in, it gets squared, and then whatever comes out of this machine goes into another machine, like so. And this second machine does this function. And we get a new number. Now, there's another way we can combine this. We can have x go into this machine first, x plus 3, and then it goes through the x squared machine, and we get a new number. Now, if in maths there's two different ways to write these down. Writing this down is different to writing this down. Now this is very important. These are not the same. These aren't, in most cases, in some cases I suppose they will be the same, but in most cases these will not be the same. So the answers will be different here. And there are two different ways to write each one of these down. Now, so this one, what does it do? This one does, first it does f, and then it does g. And this one here does g first, and this, and then f later. Now, so the top one, because it does f first, f needs to be the closest to x. So we write it down like this. So this one would be called gfx. So whichever one we do first, is the closest to x. And whichever one we do second is further away from x. Okay, so with that thinking, here we would have fgx, because g is first, so we do g first, and then we do f. Now, how do we write down the actual equation? How do we write down the actual equation? Well, there is a quick trick for that. So, what do is we need to combine these two together. We need to combine these two together in these ways. So let's first focus on... let's first do this one, okay? Let's first do this one. So let's find an equation for fgx. Okay, so we need to find an equation that will give us this function by combining these two guys. Now, how do we do this? Well, what we do is, because we do g first, what we do is we replace this whole part. So we replace this whole part by substituting with the g function. So we do this. So this is equal to f x plus 3. Like so. We replaced this whole g part with a actual equation for g function, leaving us on the f function. So now we can do it the normal way. We can think of it in a way we would always be thinking. So let's do this. So now we have the replaced version. So what happens now? Well, as we said, whatever is here, whatever is in that bracket following the function, whatever is in that bracket replaces the x here. It replaces just that x. So now bear with me. Now, what we do is we have x plus 3 from here, replacing that x. However, we have that power here left over. We have that power to the 2 left over because we only replace that x with whatever is in that bracket, in this case here. Okay, so this is what we got, and now we just simply multiply out the bracket. So we have x plus 3, and now we just multiply this out, which will give us x squared plus 3x plus 3x, so plus 6x plus 9. So that's the equation we get. So this is the value for f(g(x). So f(g(x) is equal to x squared plus 6x plus 9. Now let's try the other one. Let's try g(f(x). So again, same thinking. We will replace that f here. We will replace that f with the function for f. Okay, so function for f is x squared. So we replace that whole thing here with x squared. So we have g and x squared in the bracket. Now as we said, now we replace this x here, because that's the g function. We replace this x here and this x here only with this one here. So this one's actually quite simple because we just replace it. We replace that x with x squared plus 3. And that's literally it. That's it. And as you can see, these two are very different. These two are not the same, which illustrate the point I made earlier about the order being important, the order in which we combine these functions. So now let's write this down. So we have fg already, so now we have g(f(x), and that is equal to x squared plus 3. Okay, so this is it for today, guys. I hope this helped you. Thank you very much for watching. I really appreciate when you guys watch my videos. And if you want to stay up to date on daily maths and science and biomedical science videos, smash that subscribe button below. And if you like this video, give me a thumbs up. And if you have any, and I mean any questions, just shoot away in the comments and I will try to help you as soon as possible. Thank you again and see you next time.